obviously here for him. So how is everybody? Everybody good?
Ooh.
All right, wait. Most important, before we start, who's taping this thing? Okay, so
We got a couple, so
we got it covered in multiple things, because I don't know if there's any greater honor than being promoted in a combat zone for a leader. But obviously the biggest disadvantage of that is one of the greatest folks who got you there is your family. And you know, so I will mention up front, and I'm sure Colonel Bergmann will, during his remarks, also mention first Colonel Bergmann's wife and family. His wife, Tammy, obviously can't be here today, but she is forefront in all our minds, along with his daughter Amanda and grandkids. As he moves forward, he said grandkids, and I'll use that to kind of segue into Colonel Bergmann and his career, and why this is so appropriate today. So success in the Army, a lot of people, you know, if you're going to spend a career in the Army, a lot of people will say 20 years, retire as a lieutenant colonel. So just by the fact that we're all standing here today, we're about to pin 06 on Colonel Bergmann, that shows that he's been overly successful in the Army. But you look at his career, and I'll tell you, if you're a lieutenant or captain of any combat arms branch, you'd be envious of what he has gotten to do in his Army career. You know, he started as an enlisted ranger in the 1st Ranger Battalion from 85 to 89. Then he said, well, enough of this, I'm going to go become an officer. Went off to ROTC, back to his home state, and then comes back in as 2nd Lieutenant of Infantry, immediately goes to Korea, and then after doing PL and XO time in Korea, then he goes back to where he started in 1st Ranger Battalion. The only thing he did was switch companies. He went from Crime Company and Charlie Company as an enlistment to Alpha Company, you know, as a lieutenant, and then spent some time on battalion staff. Goes off the career course. Then he goes and commands his first of 3 companies, and goes off to Alaska and commands an airborne company. You'll see airborne now woven throughout this career, this great career. And then after commanding the requisite amount of time, immediately goes back to the Ranger Regiment, serves a little penance up on the regimental staff, and then goes down to 3rd Battalion, a little bit more staff time, and then commands Alpha Company 375. So again, you know, showing excellence. Leaves that and then commands another company, basic training company. So you know, today's Army, getting to command, you know, and what we all desire to do is command, you know, at any level, but it's showing that this clear excellence in Colonel Bergmann. Then he goes off, goes to school, then comes back, and then goes to 101st. And starts out at the Rakuten staff for a little bit of time, and then units deploying. It's clear that an artillery battalion that's going to be doing ground maneuver in Iraq wants an infantry guy. So they make him a battalion S3 in Iraq, serves time 14 months here in Iraq, and then goes up and becomes a battalion XO for a short time. And then they go, wait, we need his expertise for a heavy brigade at Fort Stewart that's getting ready to deploy, and it's transitioning to a light brigade from being a heavy brigade. So then, after doing field grade time in the 101st, they send him to go be a brigade 3, and then a brigade XO in a heavy unit. So, and then he gets selected for battalion command. So they send him to be a DCO at Fort Benning before he takes command, and then he goes and takes command of the Airborne Battalion. Then he goes and becomes a DCO back in the 101st. All right, and then he becomes a DCO here. because he's got the Iraq expertise. So 3-time DCO, battalion commander, 3-time company commander. And the thing you haven't heard any of this is any time away from troops. From the time he was enlisted men till today, no time away from troops, leading troops, and because as DCO you continue to lead. And that just speaks to the professionalism, excellence, and we promote based upon potential of Lieutenant Colonel Bergmann. I mean that's a hell of a career, and that career comes as we all know, time with troops comes at a cost because you're busy, you're working your tail off each and every day. That comes but there's nothing more enjoyable, but it comes at a cost to the family. Multiple deployments, I think third deployment to Iraq, and fourth deployment to Iraq, excuse me, and also deployment to Afghanistan. So as you look at that, start with where end with where I start with, it's family, and the family's got to be there all along the way to support us in doing what we love to do. So again, thank Tammy and your daughter Amanda for their sacrifices that they've gone through along the way. So without further ado, I'm going to pin on the rank of colonel to this very, very deserving officer who's made a difference in this fight, making a difference today, and put in the next level service. Without further ado, post the orders.
Attention to orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Carl Lawrence Bergmann. In view of these qualities and his demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, he is therefore promoted in the United States Army to the rank of Colonel. Signed, Eric K. Fanning, Acting Secretary of the Army.
Just give him a round of applause. Before Colonel Bergmann speaks, we're going to do the oath of office, which, and I think as I go through the words of this, I'd ask all of you to just think about it for a second, because and very short, the historical piece of this, and if you listen to the words, is you're affirming your duties to the next office. Because in the old days, and I wish it were still true today, in the old days, as you moved to another position that required a higher rank, then you got the rank automatically. It wasn't a central selection. So you were actually affirming to that office. And then that also came with the promotion. Today, sometimes you can get frocked, you don't get paid, but this is affirming that. And in our, obviously in our Army, we're defending our oath to our Constitution, and not to, any person, or an individual, but to our Constitution. So when I do this, I'm going to ask Colonel Bergmann, as a reminder, to hold on to the U.S. flag while he raises his hand and reaffirms, his commitment to our Army, but also to our way of life and our Constitution.
I, Carl Lawrence Bergmann, having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States in the grade of Colonel, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the office upon which I'm about to enter. So help me God.
Let's give a round of applause.
Get one picture.
Yeah.